One of the great things about being a veterinarian is when clients bring in new puppies, we get to follow them through the life stages. What we're seeing more and more of in these life stages is joint problems. And we see joint problems not only in small breed dogs, we see them in large breed dogs, we see them in puppies, we see it in middle age when they're basically active, and then we see them in old age when they're uncomfortable. And our job as veterinarians is to make them comfortable and promote the health of the joint as much as possible. One of the new products that I'm excited about and use in my practice is Canine Optimal Joint Health, which is a glucosamine MSM product that we're using. We start using it in puppies because in puppies we see a lot of joint problems develop. Over the years we have gotten better at diagnosing these problems, such as elbow dysplasia in large breed dogs. We see luxating patellas in small breed dogs, and we see shoulder dysplasia in large breed dogs. And obviously this is the time that hip dysplasia starts. And if we can start these dogs on a joint supplement early in age, we can minimize the amount of damage to their joints later in life. So in puppies we spend a lot of time talking about joint health. Even though they may not be exhibiting any signs of the disease, it's certainly the time when it starts. In my practice we see a lot of middle-aged dogs anywhere from 2 to 5 years of age. And those are the most active stages of their life. And as you know, they're out there running around, playing in the parks, going for long walks. Basically we see a lot of hunting dogs that are very active. And so these are dogs that have joint problems or beginning stages of joint problem. That's where canine joint health would come into play. So we're starting to see arthritis in these dogs. We see stiffness. A common complaint is people bringing their dogs in and saying, you know, my pet after exercise just doesn't do what it used to do. It doesn't jump in the back of the truck, doesn't jump on the bed, it's reluctant to jump off the couch. Once it gets up and moving around, they seem comfortable, but getting up is kind of a tough thing to do. And so that's a time that we want to prevent these problems from getting worse as they enter into old age, and that's where Canine Optimal Joint Health would play a role. So we use Canine Optimal Joint Health certainly in old age, and that basically is any dog that is over 7 years of age. And that's when we see the majority of joint problems, anywhere from what we call arthritis or degenerative joint disease caused by years of wear and tear, or genetics, nutritional problems that we see. And daily use of a supplement such as Canine Optimal Joint Health is indicated for the health. So basically what that does is make the cartilage healthier, which decreases the amount of pain these dogs are going to be facing, and it makes their life much more comfortable. And that's our whole goal as being a veterinarian, is make them more comfortable. One of the things that we like to do in our practice is client education. Client education is totally important for them to understand not only what normal is, but what abnormal is in dogs. Because once they can actually see, and we use this with orthopedic models, is that once we can show them where their pet has started out being normal and now is starting to be abnormal, they can understand the use of the Canine Optimal Joint Health. So here we have a knee model of a dog, and basically we're looking at what's called the articular surface of the joint, and you can see basically how nice and smooth it is. And this is the kneecap, and the kneecap rides up and down in that joint. And the problems we see with knees commonly in dogs, in small breed dogs especially, is what's called a luxated patella. And a luxated patella is when this kneecap is basically out of joint. It goes in and out and in and out, and you can see as the years go by you get bone-to-bone contact, which is very irritating. The other problem that we see in large breed dogs very commonly is what's called a ruptured anterior cruciate ligament. And that ligament is in the joint itself, and when that tears, then basically we get abnormal joint movement and degenerative joint disease. And the last of these models shows the degenerative joint disease, which is called arthritis in dogs and people. And you can see the roughness that's developing here. We can see blood vessels coming in, and there's a lot of inflammation in the joint. And inflammation causes pain, and pain basically leads to lack of mobility, dogs laying around and being uncomfortable. And when we use a product such as Canine Optimal Joint Health, what we're trying to do is make these articular cartilage healthier, decrease the amount of inflammation and pain, so dogs basically feel more at ease and they're out there running around and moving much more than they would without the use of the product. Unfortunately, one of the most common orthopedic diseases that we see in all breeds of dogs, and also all sizes of dogs, and every age of dog, is hip dysplasia. And one of the ways that we diagnose hip dysplasia is with x-rays. And here's an example that we see with a dog with terrible hips that came in, that was in pain, reluctant to get up, wouldn't get up in the back of the pickup. That was the first thing that they noticed. And our job basically is to try to make this dog as comfortable as possible. We certainly aren't going to take that hip dysplasia away, but we have to make the hip as comfortable as possible. So we do our job in making the dog comfortable and the pet owner happy. Here's a model of a dog with a normal hip, and the hip is basically a ball and socket joint. So this hip basically goes back and forth. It can rotate in and out. And this is a comfortable, nice fitting hip. And then on this side we see a dog that's over the years has developed hip dysplasia. And we see basically roughness, a lot of arthritis build up, and this leads to bone-to-bone contact because that articular cartilage is eroding away. And the one nice thing with the use of Canine Joint Health is that that cartilage that is eroding, it promotes cartilage health. And the reason that's important is because as long as we have healthy cartilage, then the pain is minimized, because once that cartilage is eroded and breaks down, then that leads to a lot of inflammation and bone-to-bone contact, which is pain. So the use, everyday use, is what we recommend of Canine Optimal Joint Health, and this will promote cartilage health.